I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast episode number 28. This one is with Peggy Hambright. Going a little off the beaten path on this one. We don't really have a topic of discussion. The topic of discussion is Peggy herself. It's kind of her telling her story, her circuitous path through the world. If you don't know who Peggy is, she's fascinating and interesting and amazing, has a great story. I'm not going to spoil any of it. You just kind of got to listen to hear her tale. That's why I've dubbed this one Peggy Tales. I hope she does not punch me for that. I've known Peggy for a little while now. It's kind of wild in that we just immediately became friendly and friends with each other. She's an amazing person. She's somebody I look up to, and I'm so happy that she agreed to be on here. Peggy is entering a new chapter in her life, post Magpies, so I'm going to send you to her Instagram account. Follow her at Margaret Jane 2.0. That's on Instagram. It's MargaretJane, the number 2, a period, and a 0. Margaret Jane 2.0. She's doing some new art projects and just posting about this new chapter in her life, which I am so beyond excited to see what she does next. So give her a follow there. We're going to do something a little bit different with this episode. We're not going to do a sponsor. There's a charity here in Knoxville that's kind of near and dear to my heart, even though I have no real connection to them. They're called the Love Kitchen. These two sisters started it, Helen and Ellen, and it's about feeding people in need. They started it in 1984. On Valentine's Day in 1986, they fed 22 people in a small church in East Knoxville. Now they have a building and they serve 3,000 meals each week, with more than 80% of those meals being delivered to homebound recipients. Every Wednesday there's an in-house breakfast and emergency food bags filled with both canned foods and dried goods. They're distributed. Thursdays are an in-house lunch and is served. Volunteers deliver meals to the elderly, disabled, and homebound. They're amazing. They do literally the Lord's work. No one gets paid. Everyone is there on a voluntary basis. If you'd like to support them, go to thelovekitchen.org and just donate. Donate whatever you want. Donate whatever you feel like. You feel like donating $1, donate $1. You feel like donating $25,000, donate $25,000. They do amazing work, and everyone here on staff at Ramblin' Man, all of us, love and support everything they do. So go to thelovekitchen.org. Follow them on any of the social media. On Facebook, it's /thelovekitchen. I think on Instagram, it's the same thing. It's at the Love Kitchen. You'll see a picture of Helen and Ellen, and you'll know it's them. Give them a follow, donate, do something good this season, even if it's just Arbor Day season by the time you're listening to this. Without much further ado, here's Peggy. There's no good way to start this. The last episode that got posted... last episode that got posted is with Wayne Bledsoe and Steve Wildsmith.
No.
And within 30 seconds, they used the term NAMBLA and started making fun of one another. And I was like, oh, God, this is off to a rocky start. And they started cracking on one another.
So you did them at the same time?
Yes.
Cute.
I wanted to do one on music journalism, and they kind of shared some Knoxville stories. I told them a couple of stories about my dad and interactions with famous musicians around town that were kind of funny.
I bet that was a lot of fun.
The Allman Brothers and the Four Tops. He met them, and he drank with the Allman Brothers.
Nice.
And drank with the Four Tops.
Nice.
So much so that they were worried about him getting home. Yeah. But it's pretty good. And it's a short one. It's only an hour. And I've started doing to where like I interviewed a musician who came to town, and that one was only 20 minutes, but
Right.
Annie Hart, she's in a band called Au revoir Simone. And until I interviewed her, I did not put two and two together that Au revoir Simone is from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
It's 3 women on keyboards. Really good band. I really like them. Dream, poppy, whatever. So we'll just ramble on. We'll just go where. Thanks.
Ramble on, shiny diamond.
Oh my God. Here we go. Are you originally from here? I don't know that I know.
From
this.
Knoxville?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you were born. Where'd you go to high school?
South Young High School. It doesn't exist anymore. It's
Okay.
now a middle school, I believe.
Crap. I can't. Seems like there's a famous football player that went to South Young, but I can't remember who.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. I've never been into football. I did keep stats for the basketball team one or 2 seasons, but that's the closest I've gotten to sports
Okay.
in my entire life.
And me, obviously, I've never played a sport in my life. I'm such a small, dour human being that I would never play
Right.
any sports.
Right. Me too. I was always the last one picked for the for the kickball
Yeah.
team in elementary school, and I think I figured out early on that athletics were not in my DNA or my future.
I didn't let that stop me. I still played. I just beat the hell out of people.
Well, you have certain advantages that
Yeah.
I do not.
A few. Yeah. Height and stupidness. Dumbness. Okay. Originally from here. Is Scott originally from here?
He's from Blount County.
Okay. And did you go UT?
I did
You did go
for
to
a
UT.
time.
For a time.
Mm-hmm.
That was, did you know, I don't know her first name, Miss Waller? Her and her husband. Were you in the art and architecture building?
Uh-huh.
They're the ones that, oh my God, she was very influential on me, and that she's how I know who the hell Piet Modrian is.
Oh.
I took her all 4 years at Fulton, and her husband were really involved with the art program over there, and they installed the hills on the backside of it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was an art installation they did. We went and toured, and she was like, "This is art," and I was like, "This is landscaping. I mow this at my grandparents' house and at my parents' house. I don't know." She was like, "No, we did this, and it's all these." I was like, "Oh."
So you went through the graphic design program there?
No,
Oh.
I went to Pellissippi.
Oh, okay.
But when I went to Fulton, I had art all 4 years, which she taught, and then graphic design at Fulton.
So what years were those?
Oh, that she taught 92 to 96. So,
Okay. I was out of there by then.
well, that's when she taught at Fulton.
Okay.
So I think she taught there in the 80s, like maybe late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
Miss Waller, she was deaf, so people would shout obscene things to her, and she would just laugh. Piet Modrian, that's how she talked. She was hilarious.
I don't think I encountered her. I don't know how I missed her, but if she was there when I was there, I do not remember her.
Okay. It was her and her husband. I have no idea what her first name was. But
Okay.
no, I went to Pellissippi because I am not a good illustrator, freehand,
Right.
even though I've had a ton of art. And UT was more in the graphic design program. You don't touch a computer till your junior year, even now. And I was like, I can't do that.
Well, when I went through the graphic design program on the cusp of computers. So that's, it was super, changed my life that computers came along, I guess, because I just loved working with my hands.
Yeah.
And then when I went to an art school in Franklin, Tennessee, right out of high school.
Which school is that?
It's called Harris School of Art.
Okay.
It does not exist anymore. It was known as a commercial art school, which is an very old-fashioned term. And my second cousin actually went there in the probably 50s. So it was a very old school.
Okay.
But we learned, and I was, before the days of internet, when you know, your ability to research things was really limited or challenging. I and I didn't have any guidance in figuring out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And South Young's not the best school in the world. And my guidance counselor was, I think he was an evangelical preacher. He wore like a 3-pound turquoise cross around his neck, and we didn't have a whole lot in common. So he wasn't really giving me good advice.
You don't say. Oh my God.
So I didn't really have any guidance at all. But this art school in Franklin, Tennessee was somewhere my second cousin had gone. So my father knew, my father's cousin had gone there a zillion years ago. So let's check it out. So we went there, and it was an art school. It seemed very interesting to me. And I wanted to leave town because all of my friends were going to go to UT, and I just felt like I needed to break away. And so I said, all right, let's go there. And I went there. It was not that expensive, and it was super interesting when I look back on it. I'm really grateful for it, but I did not appreciate it when I was there. But it was basically an art school that was stuck in time, probably in the 50s. And so they taught you how typefaces were originally created, how to make serifs, all of the mathematical formulas for how that shit was all created.
Yeah.
And then we had an anatomy. So we built a clay skeleton, and then we added the muscles, and we added the skin, and then you drew from that, and you had to build a skull and then add the facial features. So you learned about it was graphic design and illustration essentially, but they called it commercial art. But you learned to illustrate. You learned to draw by learning all those really core techniques that they used to teach. I sort of sowed my wild oats in Franklin, Tennessee, and I was not a great student. Although I did get a lot out of it, I did drop out of art school, sadly, and just was working and just living there for a while, and then decided to move back home and transferred to UT and went through the graphic design program there, and again dropped out, but it was so different. The illustration classes there everything's conceptual. There was no technique as far as anatomy and that sort of thing. So I felt like I got a real old-fashioned core training in typography and design, in anatomy and illustration and painting. Yeah. I learned how to wash my brush properly and all of that stuff that they didn't even touch on at UT. And so I was really grateful for that experience. But at UT, it was like I went through at least 6 years of a 4-year program, and I didn't graduate because I could never get into Baldwin Lee's photography class, and I was too shy and scared to step up and say, "Hey, I need this class to graduate." So I would put it on my schedule. Would be full, and I couldn't get in, and I wasn't one of those people who could go in and say, "Hey, I have to this class. You have to let me in." I was like, "I'll try next time," and
oh my God,
so stupid.
Yeah.
But so I just kept going and taking other classes. I took shit ton of printmaking classes, and I have way more hours than I needed to graduate, but they weren't the correct hours. So I missed a photography class, photography 101, and was the other class was in the advertising school advertising. I think it was like the name of the class was "What is Art?" ? And I went to 2 classes, and I was like, fuck it, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. So anyway, I didn't, I don't know. But let me back up. I quit to go because I was in a band and we got signed and we went on tour. And so what are you going to do? Yeah. So I quit. And then, so I was gone for 2 or 3 years. And then when I came back, that's when computers came into the, that was that it just went from you're in this huge room with a giant camera, ruby lithe X-Acto knives.
Oh yeah.
Rub off letters. Everything is by hand, and then it's like, oh, now you sit on your ass and stare at a screen all day, and I was like, I can't do that. I gotta move.
Yeah, make it by hand.
Yeah, so I just felt like that this isn't where I need to be.
See, I was the exact opposite. I wanted to do work in computers, and in '92 when I started at Fulton, there were only 2 computers in the entire building, and they were both the classic 2 CIs or whatever. And one of them was in drafting, and one of them was in graphic arts. So when I took graphic arts, we designed on the computer, but then we would print off a printer, we would shoot it, we would strip it up, we would use the little marker, I can't remember what it was called, the opaque marker, to fix the film, and then we would make a plate and run it on the press. We did everything from beginning to end. So I am very thankful now that I got to do all that hands-on stuff.
It's fascinating.
Even though I cut off a tip of my finger cutting with an X-Acto knife, then got a 10-minute lecture on OSHA safety as I was bleeding on the carpet. Because I never thought to put my hand up. I had my hand down, holding it with a Weber reel pad. And the minute I pulled the Weber reel pad off, I was like, that hurt even worse.
You just need a little pressure bandage.
Yeah.
Son.
Oh, God. He yelled at me forever about OSHA regulate. I was like, I got it. Can I please have a Band-Aid?
I'm going to pass out.
Can I please have a Band-Aid? I wonder when I don't know when Julie and Kevin, because they went to I'm trying to remember if they went to UT or if they just came here for Whittle.
Kevin went to UT. Julie went to NYU.
Okay.
Julie, I can tell you exactly when they came here because Julie, let's see, Kevin worked for me when I was still working out of the Tomato Head. I got married in 96, so that was probably 95.
Okay.
He went to UT. Julie did not. Julie ended up here after a tragic relationship situation, and she was just kind of floating around and trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
But she went to NYU and was killing it with graphic design. She was designing for Blue Note Records.
Oh,
She
wow.
just was. She lived in New York. She was doing a bunch of freelance stuff and doing really well. And I can't really remember. I just remember when we got married. When Scott and I got married in 96, I think she and Kevin maybe had just met and had just started seeing each other and started visualizing that business. And so that happened soon after that. But Julie did not go to UT. She was here because of Whittle. She came here for Whittle. He never worked at Whittle, I don't believe. He was...
Oh, okay. For some reason, I had it in my mind that they worked at... That's where they got together, was at Whittle.
Mm-mm.
Because I remember when Whittle first did that, we got those... Was it Channel 101 or class, whatever it was, those TVs in every single class.
Mm-hmm.
And this is based in Knoxville and all this, and then... Poof.
Yeah.
I would love to interview somebody about... the coming here and then the explosion of all that.
It was interesting. I mean, it was a real I guess it was a real fast evolution when you look back on it. Like when I was still at UT, I remember going to apply for an internship at Whittle. Okay. And they were still in the Andrew Johnson building at that point.
Oh, okay.
So for a long time, they were operating out of the Arnstein building, the Andrew Johnson building. They were all over the place. Yeah. And just growing and growing and growing. And then they built that huge complex, and then they were gone.
I got to tour that when it was still, because I think in high school, I think Miss Waller, we got to tour UT's Art and Architecture, and we got to tour Whittle. Mm-hmm. And I think I actually met Julie back then.
Right.
Like, I think I still remember meeting her.
I had
Like,
so many friends who worked there,
Yeah.
and but I couldn't get in. Jennifer Jesse,
I
do you
don't
know
think I
her?
know
Lee
her.
Gardner.
I've seen her perform a lot. I've never formally met her, but I've seen her
Oh
perform.
no, that's him. It's him. Lee. He's a dude. He's a
Who am I thinking
he's
of?
a writer.
There's
You're
another.
thinking of Leah Gardner.
Leah Gardner.
Different.
Okay.
Same person.
I'm
Right.
awful with names. Yeah. Yeah.
Lee Gardner's he's a journalist, and he's in Baltimore now, but he got his start there. Just a ton of people. It was such a great. It brought so many great people to Knoxville.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be what we are if it weren't for Whittle
Yeah.
happening.
I still felt like for a long time, and I don't know if this is true anymore, but there was a long time where I felt like I could be sitting at a table full of people here in town, and I would be the only local here. Because it was all people who'd come here for school and stayed, or people who'd come here for a job and
Right.
stayed. And I mentioned that at a table I was sitting at a couple years back, and they're like, no, we're all from here. I was like, oh, well, none of you talk like you're from here. You talk like you're from Boston. You talk like you're from Chicago. Like, what the hell, man? Like, I can't hear I have an accent, but I know I have an accent because I've had people from Chicago and Boston tell me.
Right.
Okay, so you're going to UT, taking design. What did your folks do?
My father was a piano technician,
Okay.
and my mom was a nurse, but she stopped working when she started having children, and then
Okay.
went back to work a little bit. When I was in high school, she went back to work at the Knoxville Visitors Center when it was in the Chesapeake's building.
Okay.
Back in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And so she was still there when the World's Fair was happening and all
Oh,
that
wow.
stuff.
Okay. Well, I was wondering with all the going to art schools, what your dad, but piano technician, he's in the arts, so.
He was a craftsman. He was an
gets it.
amazing, an amazing craftsman. And my mom they were just both encouragers of everything. They made us. My father really wanted to play the piano really well, but he didn't. His one rule, the only thing that he ever made us do, there are four of us, one brother and three girls, and we all had to take piano lessons until we graduated from high school.
Nice.
And there was no question about it. You couldn't, you could cry, you could stomp your feet all you wanted, but you weren't going to quit piano. And then my mom put us in dance lessons and art classes and just encourage that sort of thing. It was,
Right.
We were really lucky. We didn't, I mean, there was not a lot of money, but we, remember going to Reckenbach's.
Yeah.
Whereas Jerry's Artorama now, but it was Reckenbach's, and they had art classes there. And
Yeah.
I remember in the summer going and taking these painting classes and just things like that just just gave us opportunities that were not available from the public schools in South Knoxville for sure, but just got us into different directions and opened some doors that way. They really appreciated the arts, but were not necessarily artistic. They were very creative, though.
Yeah. And all of you all are creative. Like, I've seen your brothers. I've got a couple of coffee mugs in there with the metal work. And I was telling somebody about that the other day. I think we were at Holly's, which I saw your sister today.
Oh.
I was in there today and waved at her as she was going off to fix something. And one of us had the mug, and I was explaining to what that piece of art. I was like, this is originally a piece of metal, and it's this, and this, and this is what this means, and these photos are from him, like that.
Yeah,
like,
we're all tied up. All tied up.
Whereas, again, the complete opposite, I am the first and still the only artist in my family.
That's awesome.
Except for my sister is a little artistic, but I give her too much crap. She's terrible. I'm just kidding. Her name is Stacy, and I call her Stinky, and I've called her Stinky for like 20 years now.
Yeah, you need to stop doing that.
She wouldn't know what to do. If I said Stacy, she'd be like, wait, what's going on? Why are you nice to me?
Do you have cancer?
Yeah,
are you dying?
What do you want? What do you want from me? She does, she went to cosmetology school to learn how to paint nails, and she can paint these insane pieces of art. So like she did one,
Stare?
No, Stacy.
What's
Collins. Stacy Collins.
Stacey Collins. Where does
she doesn't do it anymore.
Oh, she doesn't do it anymore. Okay.
No, it was too stressful, and it was just hard finding a job doing that to where you didn't, like, one place she went to, they were like, you're not going to get paid by us. You have to build your own clientele. You have to do all that. And she's just not. She's a very introverted person.
Right.
But she did one, it was like Mario Brothers all the way across.
Right.
And I was like, wow. Like, it was unbelievable. So
right. That's like cake decorating. It's like you spend all this time doing really intricate, crazy designs, and then it's just going to go away. And
yeah,
at least it lasts a week or two on a nail.
Oh my God. or all of a sudden, like one of the mushrooms goes away on the ring finger. Yeah, cousin Lindsay's cake was nuts. That I think it was my cousin. I don't know that you know that.
Probably not.
My cousin Lindsay is Lindsay Collins, who was at Knox Mason and Ollie Bay forever.
Okay.
I know this is hard to imagine, tall gal. But yeah, her cakes for her wedding were from y'all.
Where was her wedding?
It was last October. It's been over a year, and it was at some farm in deep West Knoxville. It almost looked like marble, and it was like wrapped around it to where you peeled it back and ate it. And I was like, wait, I can't eat that part? And they're like, no, you can't. I was like,
you can eat it. You can eat it. It's just not very good.
Oh.
It's edible.
I still would have ate it.
Some people really like it. It tastes like marshmallows. It's not bad.
Damn it, Lindsay.
Like everybody's. No, but yeah, a lot of people don't like the texture of it, but it's just marshmallowy. So
when you finish with UT, what was the next thing for you?
Okay, so I
oh wait, the band.
Right.
That's right. I started reading. I tried to see if you had a Wikipedia page today.
I don't think I do. I think the Judy Bats have
the
one.
Judy Bats does.
Right.
I don't even think Jeff has his own wiki page. In fact, a lot of the Judy Bats is filling in his own information.
I had a dream about Jeff last night. That's so weird. In my dream, he was putting out an album, even though he said he was never going to put out an album again. But he put one out, and I was like, I'm going to come and get one. And then I went to a show, and there he was, and he was selling T-shirts, and his T-shirts were wife beaters. They were like wife beaters with a little, it was like a diamond, red diamond with an M.
Yeah.
On it. I had no.
Red diamond with an M.
But those were his merch T-shirts, and I don't know. It's weird. We run into each other every now and then. I hardly see anybody else from the band, but we run into each other like Barley's. He's always at the 6 o'clock swerve, and
yeah. I don't think I've ever officially met him, although we're now social media people.
Right.
Like he'll comment on my Feral Giant stuff like once every 2 weeks. It'll be like, oh, there's Jeff High School. He was on MTV. Like that's still that you all were on. Because I remember hearing about y'all back then, 120 minutes. And recently somebody, and I showed it to Jan Cagle. Somebody had posted an interview with you all. And I said, look at this. And I showed it to her because she was at Dale and Sean's and she was wearing, I think, one of the original Magpies shirts. I didn't know she used to work there or was involved or.
I've known Jan forever. Well, we worked at Tomato Head together.
Okay. But she was wearing that shirt and I was like, that's awesome. Is that new? And she was like, no. I was like,
No,
I want
this
one of
is
those.
threadbare.
It's like, that looks amazing. And somebody had posted that video. I was like, look at this. And she was like, oh my God. She started freaking out. She's like, look how young they all are, man.
I know.
Everybody-
We've been connected forever. Since the Judy Bats, because she was buddies with the Cleveland, Tennessee contingent of the Judy Bats, which is Johnny Shagru and Tim Stutz and Terry Casper. They all went to high school together, together. And so, and all ended up in Knoxville at the same time to go to school, except for Terry, who went to Atlanta. But anyway, I met Jan through the band, I guess.
Huh. And the band, it was originally Jeff and another guy.
Jeff and Ed Winters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of kept growing. And
It's my recollection, and I have horrible memory, but this is how I remember it, is Jeff and Ed lived on White Avenue and in a house, and they were making music together. And then I came back from Franklin to go to UT, and I was in an art history class, and I told my friend that I needed a roommate, and she's like, oh, my friends are looking for a roommate. You should check them out. And it was Johnny and Tim. Okay. And they had a house right across the street from Jeff and Ed. And so I rented this tiny room. It was like 8 by 6, I think. I mean, like a twin mattress on the floor.
My God.
And that was it. And then I just remember one weekend they're like, well, and Terry, Johnny and Tim and their friend Terry, who lived in Atlanta at the time, had a band called, oh my God, there's a 13 in it.
Striper.
No. Maybe it'll come to me. Anyway, they had a band in Cleveland. And so they, 13th Generation. Yes. I think that's it. Is that somebody else's band?
I don't know.
I think that's it.
We're going to
Google that. Check me on that. Anyway, that won't be on Google. I'm sure of it. But anyway, so they had a band, and so they would come. Terry would come in from Atlanta, and they would practice at the house, and I would be like, "Shut the fuck up!" But that somebody had a keyboard. I guess Terry had a keyboard anyway, and so, and I knew how to play piano, so I was like, "What's this?" I didn't know any alternative music. I didn't know anything about anything, and they turned me on to a lot of new shit. And so we started just listening to music and playing music. And then Tim, I think, knew or met or ran into Ed because he worked at Hawkeyes, which was right down the street from White Avenue. So he made that connection, and then we all just decided to get together one day and see what happened. And it was really wild. It just happened really fast.
And you all got signed pretty quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had our first show at Cityside Cafe. We put up these flyers. I did this torn paper illustration of a Judy Bat, of the puppet.
Yeah.
Without any words. It was just, we just put the puppet up and just, and just staple that all over the place. This was our marketing strategy to, raise some curiosity, and then we added the date and had our first. I think we opened up for Awfully Anglo, which is a great band, at Seaside Cafe, and I really have very little solid memory about how the hell it happened. No, I do. Well, I do have a lot. It'll all come back to me. But my brother lived in D.C. He's a photographer. He knew his one of his employees was the girlfriend of the guy, Dennis Oppenheimer, who eventually became our manager. And that's how we got the gig. That's how we got signed to Sire. So he became our manager, and he started, we started touring. We had got demos done.
Yeah.
Went to New York, recorded, demos and shit. And then he pitched them to Sire and then Sire hired us, or
Wow.
Sire assigned us.
That's amazing.
I totally forgot about that
Yeah.
connection.
What was the state of the scene like here? Like, was the old city? Was anybody playing? Were anybody playing in the old city at that point? Was there any venues?
Not yet.
Okay.
It was soon after that Planet Earth
Yeah.
opened up.
I'm trying to think, because I always tell people who are not from here, it's like, man, you should have seen downtown when I was a kid. Like, we would go for the Christmas parade, and then we would leave.
Right.
I was like, and I remember...
You didn't have anything to do.
No, but I did, and I brought this up on Steve and Wayne remembered what it was. I remember buying my first tape ever at a record store on Market Square, and he named it, and I can't remember what it was called.
Oh, the record store?
Yeah.
I know exactly where it was. It was a bookstore too, or was it just a record store? I can't remember.
It's so weird. I remember little points. I remember it was raining outside. I can close my eyes and picture looking out the window and seeing the rain on Market Square.
Right.
But I can't remember. And I remember what tape I bought, which is woefully inappropriate now, which it is the best of Bill Cosby on tape.
Who knew?
Yeah. But I remember that place, but I also remember bars on the windows downtown. I remember homeless people in Crutch Park, which people are calling it Crooch Park now. I was always raised it was Crutch Park.
I think it is Crooch, but I think you can call it whatever you want.
I had somebody argue with me the other day that it's Blount County. I was like, you were out of your, and he was being serious. I was like, you were out of your mind. So I just started messing with him. I was like, yeah, it's Blount and it's Merville. And he was like, no, it's Maryville. I was like, get the stick out of your ass, brother. So yeah, downtown, like, what this had been was because was the Mercury. When did the Mercury start?
Mercury was after Tomato Head.
Was it really? Okay. Huh.
Tomato Head was the only going concern on Market Square after 5 p.m. for several years. I want to say in the brief period that I was down there a lot. I don't know when exactly Mahassey started, but I started working for her when she was very new. And I started my business in 92. And so it was I probably was working for her in 1990.
Oh, wow.
There was a grocery store next to her. Watson's was still open. There was a Greasy Spoon on the corner where the burritos place is now. But I don't think, and then before Mercury started, Snake Snatch Lodge open, and that was opened by Jackie Arthur, who's the general manager at the Three Rivers Market, and that was a really awesome bar.
I don't remember.
It was very short-lived and very fucking great.
I remember. If you go towards the TVA towers and turn right next to the West's Empire, right there, the one on the corner, I remember there used to be a sign up on the side that it was a burger joint. Yeah,
there was a little diner there.
Yeah.
I remember eating there one time. I had been one night when I made some bad decisions and stayed up all night long, and then we ended up there for breakfast like as soon as they opened at like 5:30 in the morning. It was the only time I ever set foot in that place.
I just remember the sign was still up there. Like,
it was like
even like
Uncle D's or Paul's or
whatever. But
what was it?
I just remember the sign was still up there like 8 years ago. And I was like, that thing's been gone for a long damn time.
Yeah.
And that sign.
I only went in there once.
And Gus's. I remember Gus's.
Gus's was on the corner. Yeah.
Because Dad would always tell me when he was a kid, this would have been the mid-50s, he would hop on a bus from Riverside Drive or from Washington Pike and go watch creature features all day long at a theater downtown at like 8 years old. And I was like, I can't imagine somebody doing that.
Yeah.
Like now it would probably be a little bit better, but when I was 8 years old, hell no.
Yeah.
Mercury, I used to go to the Mercury a lot when I was in high school. and I was way underage, and I found out that that was not a problem.
Right.
But I also said, well, I was also 6'2" and weighed like 245.
Yeah,
I was
right.
I thought that's what got me in. And somebody later was like, no, you were fine. I was like, okay. And that's all of it. I remember seeing Green Day and Operation Ivy, and before that Green Day hit it big.
Wow.
And it was, yeah. Like I remember that. I could not, and forever I could not remember where it was located at. For some reason I thought it was over where Latitude 35 was.
Nope.
It's where Press Pub is, right?
Yep.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank God. Okay, so you all got signed. Did you all play around a lot in town before you kind of got bigger or anything? Like, because back then the Strip was more. There were more avenues there.
There was a library on the Strip. We played some City Side, and my bandmates will remember much more than I do. But I remember just
and Hawkeyes.
And we didn't ever play Hawkeyes.
Oh, didn't play Hawkeyes. Okay.
Scott Miller played Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of bands there, but we didn't know. I don't think we ever played there. No, we never played there.
Okay.
They only had like tiny, like you had to be like a one man band up there.
Oh, okay.
No room for. There was no stage. We did play Planet Earth a lot in subsequent years. But I remember traveling a lot to out counties in a 15-passenger van. We would go to Atlanta and we go to DC. Since our manager was based out of DC, my brother lived in DC, and my sister lived in Baltimore. We had a lot of trips to that corridor.
Okay.
Did a lot of I-81 driving, and did tons of stuff just up and down that corridor.
Okay.
And that was kind of how we got our.
Around that time,
ourselves
did
out.
you all play? I know it's different styles, but
Sorry.
Kurt, we'll cut that out. Did y'all meet any of the punk people in DC around that time? Any of the hardcore people, like Ian Mackay, or no? Different scenes.
Yeah.
Just different scenes.
Yeah, we were not punk.
I wasn't sure how open DC was. I figured maybe, just maybe.
I remember opening up for Yo La Tango at the 930 Club,
Oh my God.
and really, I really liked them. But I was always too scared to talk to anybody. Just like I couldn't talk to Baldwin Lee, I couldn't talk to anybody else. I'm not. I was really shy.
I'm trying to remember. I think the MTV interview. I don't know if you said anything on the MTV
Probably
interview.
not.
You just said to the side. I was like, "Hey, there's Peggy. Hey, Peggy's not talking."
Yeah. Yeah.
Who was? Do you know who's the biggest band? Do you think y'all open? Did y'all go on tour or open for anybody?
We had I toured a couple of albums. We opened up for John Wesley Harding.
Okay.
For a tour. Shit. I'm not going to remember the names of these people. I have no memory, Jody, so this is horrible. There was a really wonderful band that was on another tour. I'm not going to be able to come up with them, though. And there was another dude who's still playing, who we kicked off the bus in New Jersey.
Oh, my God.
What was his name? Oh, shit. Maybe I'll come and fill this in at a later date.
We'll cut this in.
I mean, we did. I can't. They're all.
I was going to say back then, I don't even think festivals weren't a huge thing back then. No, because that didn't really start until.
I remember opening up for Robin Hitchcock. This was probably the biggest one that I remember, opening up for Robin Hitchcock at the Bijou, and I remember having a conversation with him. He came. I was really nice, and he came out on the stage and he was like, "So just making small talk. So how many of you are there in the band? I said, there's 6 of us. He said, oh, you'll never make any money. I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, my God. I was doing the math on that last
Right.
night. I saw Tyler Ramsey, and I was like, you have a bass player, a guitar player, a drummer, and you, and there's 60 people here. I don't know what the math is on this, but it probably ain't pretty good.
Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
money-making proposition.
Although on
usually.
the flip side, I went and saw Chris Stapleton at Thompson Bowling, and it was sold out. And I started doing the math on that one,
Yeah.
and it hurt my brain. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, so this thing holds about 20,000 people. Okay, they've cordoned off a section of it, so let's say 16,000. I'm up in the upper deck, and I paid $80 damn for a ticket.
Yeah.
I was like, and I saw some tickets for $300.
Yeah.
It's like, whew.
I know.
The scary part about that one is a lot of the people did not know who Marty Robbins was. Marty opened for him.
What?
And I was like, Marty's amazing. And my friend who's with me, she was like, I can't. His hair, man. His hair's killing. I was like, come on, man.
Oh.
And I think he was wearing leather pants. And I was like, all right, Marty. But yeah, it was, yeah, the dynamic between those two. I love Stapleton. I know he's mainstream and everything, but it's so funny because the first time I saw him was at Disc Exchange on Record Store Day for free with the Steel Drivers.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, and then the second time I saw him was at the Bijou, or no, it was at Press Pub or Barley's or somewhere. And then to see him at Thompson Bowling and be like,
That's pretty cool.
good for you. Like, good for you, man.
Right.
Because you're also not a shitty guy. So his first video he ever did was about depression. Like when he finally hit the first song he released in video was all about depression and suicide. And it ended with, if you're ever feeling bad, here's
Aw.
phone. I was like, damn it. Good guy, Chris Stapleton. I was like, you're actually doing something good. You're not.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, 6 members. Was that the most ever in the band?
It was always
It was always 6. Okay.
6. Well, when after I left, they didn't get another keyboard player, so then it was 5.
Okay. It's funny. Do you know Adeem, the artist?
Mm-hmm.
He had no idea who the hell the Judy Bats were until like a year or 2 ago.
That's
and I was
okay.
like, dude. I said, I'm going to just make you a damn playlist of all the people you need to listen to. It's like, you need to listen to them. It's like, you need, God love them. You need to listen to V-Roy's. You need to listen to Mick. And you need to listen to Scott. And I was like, you need to go back and listen to some of Todd Steed's because his shit is hilarious.
Yeah.
And he's another good guy. Oh yeah, there's something you did not see. It's up on the board.
What?
So a friend of mine charged me years ago with, he was calling me such a negative bastard, and he said, I want you to list 5 people in your field that you respect globally. 5 people in this town in your field that you respect, and 5 people locally that you respect. I think you're number 1 on the local person.
You don't know me that
Yeah.
well, Jody.
Oh, hush. I think it's you, Todd Steed, and I put Tim and Susan Lee
No.
together. Because, yeah, you and Todd and Tim and Susan are, yeah. I only found one person in town in my field. I was like, that's the only one. It's one dude. And it's kind of unfair because I found out it's not just, it's Andy Filiu from Lock and Key. Kind of, because when he started that, it was just him with a camera on his shoulder, working his ass off, staying up all night, editing footage. Like, I didn't realize he had a partner because I never saw the partner. That guy's not a shooter.
Right.
I was like, that's somebody I respect because he worked his ass off, and now he's got a good company, and he does right by his employees. And
Right.
does a lot of good stuff. I was like, that's somebody.
Are you completely freelance?
Yeah. Scary as shit, but yeah. 2 years and 4 months, I think, at this
That's
point.
awesome. I remember when I didn't think it was that long ago, but I remember when you started stopping working for other people.
Well, I got laid off.
Right.
That's still the funniest thing. When I worked in that building, I used to piss off our HR people. I was like, so when I get fired, and they're like, you're not getting fired. It's just a downsizing. I was like, no. I'm leaving this building. You don't get to tell me what I get to say. And they were so pissed. And on day one of the buyout, they pulled us into a room at 10 o'clock in the morning. They're like, you're all gone in 3 months. And a month later, they came back and they said, you all do a lot more than we figured. You're going to get an extra month. I was like, yeah, you dumbasses. Well, how about you just keep us? Like, we can't be that big of a drain on you. We live in Knoxville, for God's sake. But no, yeah. Yeah, I was lucky. My boss's boss hooked us up with a severance that sustained me. I missed out on 2 opportunities there on the front end that kind of got hosed on 2 jobs. But yeah, it's been interesting. I'm going to knock on wood.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm working a contracting gig right now that it's paying the bills and it's not a lot of fun, but and I had a talk today, so I did 40 before 40. And one of the things was to thank mentors. And I had lunch with one of my mentors today, a guy that I worked for when I was in college, that he was the shop supervisor at this printing place that I worked at. But if it got too heavy, he would roll up his sleeves, walk out on the floor and work. And I was like, I've used that every job I've ever had. Whenever things got tough or I had people working under me, I was like, nope, you need to get your ass to work. Your management doesn't mean shit. Like, you need to get to work. Yeah. And that was nice getting to talk to him today, because he quit the real world or whatever you call it and started working for himself, I think 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Although I love him, but I can't tell you what he does. It's consulting. That's all I know. Consulting. I was like, okay. And he was telling me what they did, and I was like, I still don't know what you do, dude. I just know you travel a lot and you work with businesses. That's it.
Right.
But thank you. Yeah. Okay, so in the band, you left the band. Did you already kind of dipped your toe into starting your own thing at that point?
No, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. I just knew that I didn't want to ride in a bus with 5 other boys anymore. And it was a fascinating experience, and I really did enjoy it a lot. But I just had one day just had this epiphany that I just needed. This wasn't. I think it was after we'd finished touring down the shacks where the satellite dishes grow, and we were getting ready to start rehearsing again, and I was like, I can't do it again. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. And I just decided I just wasn't going to do it. And so then I got a job. I think my first idea was that I was going to open a burrito stand, and I was either going to do that or I was going to build furniture. And so I set about trying to figure out how to make that decision. So I took a wood joinery class, and I decided that was too tedious, and I didn't think I would enjoy that. And then I started working on recipes and for my burrito stand, and I was like, okay, I got all my recipes down and cooked for people and got feedback, and I said, okay, that's what I want to do. And then a friend of mine suggested that I get a job at Tomato Head, because Mahasi had started this business and she was in food, and she would, be good insight. And so I was like, okay, so I went and got a job with her, and I thought I'll just work here for a while and get see what happens. And then as I was working for her, started making her desserts. And then the woman who owned Java at the time started ordering desserts from me, and I was at work. I was just cooking stuff out of my mom's kitchen at this point, and I just and it just sort of grew organically from there. And then at some point, I just had to just start making desserts.
Decision.
Yeah.
And I've never thought, do you have a sweet tooth?
Not right now.
I was going to say, is this an ironic thing?
I haven't actually eaten. I haven't eaten one of my desserts in 3 months because I'm dieting, and I'm on like a no carbohydrate diet. which has been really fascinating, and I feel really great. But but no, I've always loved to bake, and I've always loved sweets. But I've never been like a person who orders a huge dessert at a restaurant. But I'll eat like, I love pie. Like pumpkin pie has always been my birthday cake. There's certain things that I really love, and I'll eat the shit out of. But if I start eating sweets, I can't stop eating them. So that's my thing.
And also because of how we grew up, I have a hard time throwing away food.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going through like cake from Food City in there that somebody brought to a cookout that I was like, I can't throw this away.
Yes, you can.
In good
You
conscience.
can throw away a Food City cake in good conscience.
Okay.
There's nothing good in there at all.
Well, I'm a sucker for lemon cake and lemon cookies, and it's a lemon cake. And I was like, oh, God, I love lemon cake. There's so much judgment.
No.
I know.
I just say if you're gonna well.
Oh yeah, when I bake goods, they don't last very long because I'll just stand over the countertop and eat all of them.
Right.
Yeah. They so when you're starting to, because I also know when you were with the Judy Batch, you did the artwork for the all of the albums or just the first album?
I did the illustration for the first and the artwork for the first one, and then the second one worked with my friend Elizabeth Helvey, and we did the design together on that one.
Okay. When you started working at Tomato Head and were you still doing artwork?
I was freelancing. I was doing stuff here and
even
there.
Not design, even just stuff for you, like personal stuff.
No,
too.
I wasn't doing any personal art.
Okay.
No.
It was all but you were still doing freelance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Did you? I already know the answer to some of this. That's why it's so weird asking, but you enjoy doing that stuff.
I guess I did.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you had told me before. You're like, I want to handle Instagram because I love doing the art or the stuff for Instagram.
I think that I really love to create things.
Yes.
And I love to draw, and I guess that what's been frustrating about having, the evolution of graphic design and social media and all of that stuff is everything changes so fast. And there was a time when I was a whiz at Quark Express.
Oh yeah.
and then I felt like I was very confident I could get something to the printer. I could start it and I could get it to the printer all by myself. And then it seems like overnight I couldn't do that anymore. I could draw it and I could get it to a certain point, but I couldn't.
The funny part is it's even easier now to do it.
Because
because you remember, crap. Now I'm having a brain fart of what it was called. There used to be an additional app that was like an eagle that was called like File Check, that you would drop your Quark files on it and it would gather all the images and all the fonts pre-flight.
Right.
Now all that's just built into the apps where you can pre-flight out of, I think, all of the apps.
But I think I got to a point where I couldn't learn anything. I'm the kind of person, if I have to do something every day.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be good at it.
Yeah.
I can't just sweep in and learn Photoshop overnight and just do it every 3 months when I need to create a menu or an ad or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then it just was so frustrating because I know exactly in my head what I want to put out there, but I couldn't make it happen. So there's been a lot of years of just total frustration, like trying to find somebody who can just, and graphic designers don't want you to design something for them and then they do all the shit work. They want to do it. They want to do the fun stuff. So it just, I don't know. Yeah. That's been a constant frustration, owning my business and wanting to market it because I want to do it all, but I can't. And so I couldn't find that. I never did find. Oh, I've had several people who were really great and who did work out well, but I think really I just want to be able to do everything myself,
Yeah.
and I can't.
That's why I don't do code, because if you're not in it every single day, there's no way in hell.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell. It's like, no, I just know my limitations. I was like,
Yeah.
I need that person to do that.
Well, it's just like working in the bakery right now. I sold it in January to my niece, and I'm just an employee now, and so the things that I haven't actually baked a cake, like done the bake shift in years, and that's my job now. And it took me about 3 months of doing it. I was like, when I went, and my first couple of weeks doing it, I was like, I never thought that I would be doing this again. This is hell. I am in hell. And then I do it, and then the next day I'm like, oh, okay, this is how you do it, and this is how it's better, and this is how you do it, and it's more efficient if you do it this way. And then after about 3 weeks, it's like, oh, it's just like riding a bike. You've done this.
Yeah.
You're better. You're faster. You can, it's like so cool. But if I stop doing that, go and do something else for 3 months and then go back and do it, I have to learn all that shit over again.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just like I have a tiny little brain. It's like a little mole brain. I have to do what I'm doing all the time in order to be really efficient and really good at it. But I'm a machine once I'm on there.
So I also know that you and we're going to circle back around, because that's what I do. But a little divergent is you and Julie have been collaborating on some pieces.
Yeah.
So how was that, getting back into the art side of it all?
That's been great. That has been so much fun. And Julie has travels all the time, so it's really hard to nail her down. But I guess when I first sold the business, and I felt like I was like, I'm going to have all this time. I'm going to have all this time. And that was in January, and of course I did. I mean, I was like working 20 hours a week or something, which is just crazy to all of a sudden not be working 60 hours a week. And I was like, okay, I've got all this time. And so we would collaborate. We get together 3 or 4 days a week, and we do these pieces and have so much fun. And then somebody would quit, and then I would be needed back at the shop, and I would, and we wouldn't be able to do it for a while. So we go in stages, because she travels and then I'm working, and so right now we're not doing any collaboration because she's been in Arizona for 3 weeks, and then I'm in holiday mode. So we'll probably start back up in January. But it's been so much fun, and she's gotten a lot of creative freedom since she's transitioned out of EHA, and she's got Pioneer House, and she just has a lot more freedom and many more interests. And she's just fearless in her.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Is it gesso?
We're doing encaustic.
Encaustic, that's right.
Which is painting with hot pigmented waxes.
This was a while back. I think this is when I did that Visit Knoxville takeover thing. That I went upstairs and she was showing me the encaustic stuff. I was like, in my brain, it was just like, this seems like a nightmare. It's like, this is a nightmare to me, man. This seems very non-forgiving and just.
Oh, it's not. It's so forgiving. You can just scrape it off and start over again anytime.
I think that's me, though. It's like if I put in a lot of work and then have to oh god.
Yeah, it's not precise. I mean, that's the thing. That's the beautiful thing about it. I think is it requires you to not be a control freak, and that's really good practice for me.
Oh man, yeah. When she got back in, like she was telling me, her and Basin were telling me a little bit about kind of her getting back into printmaking, and how Kara is kind of the one that kept everything up and going and all that. And Kara's amazing, and
she is.
But man, those dogwood pieces that Julie did, I was like, almost like a Wayne's World. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not worthy, man.
Yeah.
These are gorgeous. Holy shit.
I know.
Like,
She's amazing. She
Yeah.
has so much talent in so many areas, and
what's funny is the first time I actually talked to her, she was, I'll tell her this. She was very mean to me. She was very mean to me. And
Right.
it was, I had talked this woman, Kyle, who was doing a traveling letterpress. She had an RV, and she put a small letterpress in there, and she was going from town to town teaching letterpress to anybody who'd want to show up. So and I think she's doing a Kickstarter, and I went and I messaged her. I was like, okay, I see your calendar. You're going from Nashville to Asheville with Thanksgiving in between. Are you not going to stop in Knoxville? Like, what the hell? Because Yeehaw was still open at that point. And she was like, maybe I should. I was like, yes. So I kept working her and got her to come. I was trying to get her to set up on Market Square. I was going to help get a city permit or whatever, because it's always the ice skating rink
Right.
opens up. I was like, you get all kinds of kids and all that. Then she started talking to Julie and Kevin, and she set up in front of Yeehaw, and it was a rainy, cold day, and nobody showed up. And I was like, I wish you would have, okay. But I was sitting there talking to her, and Julie was not in a good, and she was just very mean to me. And I was just like,
how long ago was this?
Oh, this was a while. This is like 10 years ago,
Okay.
if not more. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every time since I've gotten to know Julie better, it's been 100 times better. But I still think that's hilarious. Like the first time I actually sat down with her, we were talking about open court off mic, and there's a band called Bully. Have you heard them? As a female lead singer. And she came into town, and she said, the only thing I think of when I think of Knoxville is some dude here. We were setting up for a show, and a guy came up and said, oh, whose girlfriend are you in the band? Who are you the girlfriend of? One of the band guys. And she was like, so fuck that guy. And ripped into some angry song. I was like, oh my God. You were in a band with 5 other dudes. Did that happen? Was there a lot of time, especially in that time period, were you demeaned or anything? You know what I mean? Like, or were they kind of fierce advocates for you to where?
I wouldn't characterize them as fierce advocates. I didn't ever feel demeaned, I guess.
Okay.
Except when, I got my ass grabbed a lot and that sort of thing. That's sort of normal, regular, demeaning bullshit that you go through as a woman. But I was pretty confident in my place in the world, but it was lonely. It was lonely being the only female because there's so few females in the industry, period, much less in the actual bands. I mean, all of the roadies are dudes, all the sound people are dudes, all the club owners are dudes. There might be a female bartender every now and then, but it's just a man's world, and that's probably a lot of why I didn't want to stick around in it. But it's gross.
I know.
I work in it's a 99% female kitchen and have for 26 years. I think there's probably something to be said. There's some correlation to be drawn from that change of life.
Yeah. I don't even know where to start. Although there are times where I was like, and my buddy Joe, okay, you tell me if this is a wrong thing to think of, but this is a size thing. This is because I'm a big dude and Joe's not a small dude. His sister works in like rape counseling or something like that. And he and I were talking about stuff and kind of the grossness of how men are. Because I think this is around time when the stuff started finally coming out about Cosby. And we just happened to be standing drinking beer at some party and got on that topic. And I said, I wish we had like pins or something that went like, A, we're safe. And B, if you have any problems, let us know and point us in the right direction of the dude to punch. Because we'll take care of that. Like, I think that comes from like my dad. Because my dad was like, oh, you hit a woman? Oh, okay. No, don't take him to jail. Just bring him over here. We'll take care of that. Oh, you touched a kid? Oh, okay. Yeah, you come on over here. Yeah, we're gonna have a little bit of a problem. Like still one of the funniest things with my dad was because where I grew up here, Fulton was 2/3 black. I grew up East Side Y. Where there are a lot of times where I would be one of 3 white kids. So I get I think I get some of the understanding growing up being a minority in a community of minorities. Is that the right way to say that? Shit, I don't know how to say that. I was the odd duck out.
Right.
I was the odd
You know
one.
what it feels like to be a minority.
Yes. Which I know as a white dude, I'm not supposed to say that, but it is what it is.
Right.
And, but we were sitting in a bar because my dad and uncles were awesome and took me to bars when I was a kid. And I'm sitting there drinking a Shirley Temple or a Virgin Pina Colada. And I remember it was me sitting on a bar stool, my dad, and he was talking to a dude sitting on the other side. And it was an old Navy guy because he had a tattoo here back in the day when it was Navy people and bikers. So
right.
And he had the sailor tattoo right there. And he started dropping the N-bomb in front of my dad. And Dad just turned back and looked at me and turned and looked at the guy. And he's like, here's what's going to happen. You say that word one more time, my son's going to get off the bar stool. He's going to come around here. He's going to beat the shit out of you. And then he's going to go and sit back down on his bar stool. And the guy looked at me, looked at my dad, who's not a small dude, big shocker, and just walked away. And I just think about that because I was probably like 8. And I was probably like, what are we doing, Dad?
What am I supposed to do?
Whose butt am I going to kick? Because I can't say that other word, Dad. But it was like his dad was we don't say that word. Because my dad's dad grew up extreme poverty, extreme rough shit. 6 or 7 or 8 wives, 20-something kids. Like just all over the place to where I still remember my grandfather once when I was in high school, he was like, oh yeah, I raised my boys. We do not say that word. That is not a word you say. Like, and I know that's an anomaly, especially a dude who grew up in like Sharps Chapel.
Right.
So all that to go back around to say, I think they instilled in me and I realize I'm a big dude and I have gotten in a lot of fights because of stuff like that. Moose's Music Hall. I've put dudes into walls for touching women. And I don't say that as like a brag or a boast or a badge of honor, but it's standing there talking to Joe. I was like, I wish there was a way to go, hey dude, I'm not a creep. I'm okay. Like I'm never gonna, no. In fact, I've had women dump me for not being more. It's like, nope. I'm a big dude. I don't want to scare you. I don't want to. No, you do whatever. I'm here, man. Just tell me what to do. Like, I don't know. All that to say, I know it's awful because I've got a lot of, most of my friends are women and I hear so many stories that it scares the shit out of me. I can't imagine anybody doing that because I got a little sister and I got a mom and I just can't imagine.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Damn it. Okay. God damn, we went down a rabbit hole. I went down a rabbit hole.
You went down a rabbit. I mean, it's weird. I mean, all of the stuff you're talking about. It's just, I mean, in the context of today is really interesting. You've got the Me Too, and you got that racism is loud and proud right now, and it's just like you say. I mean, it's interesting, and this is probably just not anything that would be interesting to anybody else, but just the idea that it's, I don't know what it was. I don't want to go there probably.
I think a lot of it is. I think in a lot of ways, with my dad and my grandfather, it was very black and white.
Mm-hmm.
You should do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times when I hear stuff like that, like, oh, some dude grabbed, I was like, no, why the fuck would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not not a goody two shoes way. Just don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't do that, idiot. Like, I don't know.
But you're hopefully not a huge anomaly, but there's, probably 50% of the population thinks there's nothing wrong with that and thinks there's nothing wrong with the N-word, and now they're empowered to really believe that out loud. And
yeah,
I think it's not going to get any easier for any of us who...
I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was a female comedian that she made a joke and she was like, good, you're just outing yourself. We can just separate you from the herd and be like, oh, that's good. You go over here now. You're not in society anymore because you're over here. And I was like, okay, you can say that. I can't say that. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unfortunately, that's not the way it works.
I know. That'd be nice, though. Just corral.
I know.
Cattle prods. Just
Alcatraz for you.
Alcatraz. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Now I'm trying to remember where we're at. Okay. I do remember. So you were working at Tomato Head. You were baking out of your mom's kitchen.
Yes.
And you finally were like, this is hitting a breaking point and I need to go out on my own.
Yep.
And so what did that look like? Did that look like you were still baking and supplying, because you were also supplying to Java? Were you catering at all or anything then? Or
I had a couple of experimental catering jobs and discovered fairly quickly that was not a path that I wanted to go down. So I was just sticking with desserts wholesale mostly to restaurants and coffee shops and stuff. So Java and do you remember Charda's restaurant in the Old City?
no?
It was a lovely little place.
I'm gonna run this by you. I've run this by a couple other people. I remember a time where they used to shut down the Old City, and like WIMZ would put up a stage, and they'd have some band come and play. But you paid like $5 to get in, and all the restaurants would set up tables, and you could come and sample. Like BW3, I remember having wings from BW3. I remember crab from somebody who was up near where the melting pot is. Up there, and this happened for a few years.
Yeah,
it would have been like 94 or right around there, because it was. I think
I wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have.
But do you remember that at all? Like,
not really. I mean, I sort of remember BW3. I remember the only thing about the Old City that before I was located down there. So I wouldn't have been. Let's see, 92.
This may even been 93.
I was still at Tomato Head at 96. I moved to the Old City in the early 2000s.
Okay.
So, let's see. I've been where we are for 15 years, and I was in the Old City for 5 years before that. So you do the math because I'm not good at it. And then before that, I was at my mom's for 5 years.
Okay, so 98 is when you started in the Old City and moved out there in 2003.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I can do a little bit.
Right.
That Fulton math.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in the interim, so when did you strike out on your own? 92
was when I was I moved out of my mom's kitchen into a kitchen in an old schoolhouse on Bafford Place in South Knoxville.
Okay.
I started sharing. I hooked up with Hollis Church, who has Dega Catering.
Okay.
She's a rock and roll caterer, and shared a kitchen space with her. So she was working with AC Entertainment and doing food for their
that was me. Sorry, I thought I was going to belch. Sorry.
She was doing food for for concerts.
Right.
And then she did food for Bob Dylan, and he really loved her style and her food.
Oh, wow.
And then she ended up going on the road with him, and that just kind of went into the sort of organic development of this really awesome rock and roll catering business that she still owns today. So, so we were sharing a kitchen for a couple of years in the basement of what is now the Mead Montessori School.
Oh, okay.
You probably know some of those people.
Yeah.
Fine folks.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my home base for a couple of years. And then moved back to Tomato Head. She did an expansion, not this latest awesome expansion that she did, but at that time was the restaurant was very different, and all of the kitchen was up front. She didn't have she had a back prep kitchen, but she moved the wall back and took out this giant rotating oven that had been there when the place was a bakery a zillion years ago, and to expand the dining room, and created a space for me there. So I leased a space from her in the back of her kitchen, and then also was kitchen managing for her and making her desserts.
Okay.
And so I did that for a little while, and then around 96 is when we split ways, and I went back to my mom's house, made a commercial kitchen and an extra room in their house.
Oh, wow.
So I wasn't in her actual kitchen, but I was in her actual space. I was in her house from like 5 a.m. until 12 at night every day, and I don't know why they put up with that, but they did, and so I was there for about 5 years, and then moved to the old city after that.
And you were in where Aisle 9 and
Good Golly Tamale.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yep.
So I remember somebody posted a photo. It may have been was it just you to start? Who was the first person you hired? Do you remember?
My very first employee was Molly Moran, but that was a Bafford place, and then Beth McWilliams, who lives in Cookville now, was my very first real employee, and she was passed over. She started working for my sister Holly.
Yeah.
And Holly thought that I would be a better fit for her, so she came to me, and she was awesome, and she was my very good employee and very great friend now. So
I can't remember if it was you or somebody else that posted a photo from that location, and there were 4 of you, and I just remember 2 of the women were very tall. Like, not quite my height, but they both look...
Trying to think who that would be.
Yeah.
Beth is certainly tall. Who else did I have that was tall?
Maybe it was just one. I just remember one. I was like, good Lord. And I think there's an employee now that's a very tall
Bowen.
one.
Yes, Bowen's very tall.
Yeah. It just cracked me up because I think you and her were at somewhere, at an event or something, and walked up. I was like, good Lord, I want to go, you're tall. You're one of us. I was like, you're one of us, man. Yeah. And you were there for 5 years. And I'm trying to think, wasn't that in the weird period of the old city where it had a little bit of a resurgence?
The old city has always been in a weird period. I mean, it's been through so many weird periods. Yeah. I mean, I remember going down there. There was that big resurgence, and there was so much going on for a minute, and then it was like, somebody gets shot, and then the whole neighborhood goes down. But when I was down there, was Trio.
Yeah.
Was open. Java was there, but it was under different ownership. It was not as crazy busy as it was when when I first started doing desserts for Kimberly Ben, who owned it at the time. I was doing 80 cakes a week, and I was not their only baker. She had 2 or 3 other people
Yeah.
that she was getting stuff from. And it was an amazing, like night and day. They were crazy busy.
Yeah.
And there were a couple other, and I think maybe she or an associate of hers opened a kitchen retail space, like where they sold home goods and stuff. That was very short lived, but there was an attempt at some retail stuff, but it was, we're on our side of the street, Hugh Ray's, and gosh, it's just always been an entertainment district. It's never been a daytime neighborhood.
No.
So that was super tricky for us because people were
Parking was a
scared to come
nightmare.
down there.
Parking is a
Yeah.
nightmare.
Yeah.
Back then, they've done some improvements because parking's always been a nightmare.
There wasn't all that nice underpass there was not all that parking under the underpass. It was just sketchy, man. And you couldn't get, we had a very, our main audience was coming from the 37919 area code, and those people did not understand how cool it was down there.
Yeah.
It was just like they didn't want to park and have to walk around a corner. I don't know. So we did a lot of just call us when you get here and we'll run the cake out to your car. And
because
I don't know. But when we moved to our business doubled in 1 year just by gaining a parking lot, because where we are now was no more convenient than the old city, but we had a parking lot.
And it wasn't even close to being developed out.
No.
It was kind of a ghost town over there at that point, because that's before Happy Holler got fixed up.
Yeah.
And before anything really was out that way.
Yeah.
The old location, the old city, I'm trying to think, was not Cigar Company. They were still down there. Yeah.
Or a cigar company was down there.
Well, they switched. It used to be a cigars on one side and a bar on the other. And then they shut down the bar part and they just had the cigars for a while.
Right.
And I liked it when it was the bar because they had big comfy chairs in there.
Right.
And they had a great bar, and you could get like bourbon flats. You can get great bourbon for like $10, like 4 different. And I smoked cigars, so it was like, this is amazing and relaxing and holy hell. And Brooklyn, Brooklyn, I love Brooklyn to death. That's where I first met him, was in there.
Okay.
So when they shut down the bar part, he moved over to Manhattan's, and I didn't see him for like 6 months. And I walked in one day when they opened for something. I was dropping something off or something. And I walked in, he looked at me, he's like, "Double Jack neat." Or I think he either did that or he made one and just threw it at me. I was like, holy hell, how'd you know? I was like, come on, man. He was just like, come on.
Have you been to the corner?
Yes.
Okay.
I love it. I think it feels like a neighborhood bar, which is exactly what it needs to be.
Yeah.
I talked to I still have not, the other guy.
Harb.
Is that
His partner?
His wife came over and talked to, I was
Okay.
sitting with Shane Ryan the other night in there, and she came over. Apparently she knows Shane, and she started talking. I was like, oh yeah, I did the last photo shoot in here with the Tim Lee 3. I was like, I wonder where that big parachute is. And we started talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, maybe Adrian knows, maybe Tim and Susan. And she was like, wait, let me write down these names. I was like, because she was telling me about the paintings there.
Uh-huh.
And about how they were original and all that. And I was like, man, if you could find that big old parachute, man. And then, funnily enough, the next night I saw Tim and Susan. I was like, all right, I got to ask y'all, do y'all know where that? And they were like, nope. We didn't know where it went. Adrian doesn't know. Nobody knows where it went. Like the parachute just disappeared.
Right.
I was like, damn it. Okay. That parachute was funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've done a really beautiful job, I think, of respecting every era of folks who've passed through those doors and lived in those walls.
Yeah.
It's great.
And it's just nice. Like it's it's nice to have a small neighborhood bar like that to where it's not. And I love a lot of those places, but I remember when the Peter Kern Library first started and their drinks were $9 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, that's so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's not, because they're all very good. Like their quality. And when they first started, they only had like 2 pages of cocktails. Like now it's a crazy long list. It's like, but she really focused on what certain things. And I tried every single one of them and they were all amazing. And now you go downtown and it's like, oh yeah, a cocktail at just a regular place is $13. So I kind of, as much as I don't bemoan those places, I kind of like that the corner is just somewhere where you can go and have a beer.
Right.
And have a drink and a shot or something, and it won't kill you.
Did you see his sign? He, I think it was just a couple of days ago and he finally got it done.
Yes.
The craft cocktails, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Here we call it bartending. So, yeah, see. They're so cute.
When he started, I hadn't seen him in years. When they shut down Manhattan's and then Patrick Sullivan's, I hadn't seen him in years. And then Casual Pint Fountain City opened up, and I saw the opening. I was like, I saw it on Facebook or something. I was like, that looks like Brooklyn. And I showed up out there, and he just happened to be walking outside in this madhouse of people. And I looked at him and said, Brooklyn. And he was like, big man. He just gave me a big old hug. He's like, where the hell have you been? I was like, where the hell have you been, man? I was like, and the Casual Pint Fountain City was amazing when he ran it because it was a neighborhood. It didn't look like any of the other Casual Pints.
Yeah.
It was a neighborhood bar. It had a great following. He made sure that was in the earlier days of food trucks. There was always a food truck there. He tried to have bands there. Like, he made it a neighborhood bar.
Yeah.
And I love him to death. I love him to death.
That's what he's good at.
But anyway, so Knox Cigar Company, on that side, yeah, you're right, like Hoorays and Knox Cigar Company, and you all, and was, Big Don the Costumer was weird, because I swear I'd never seen it open in my life.
Oh, they were there, though.
Oh, they were there? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So did you know him?
I did not know him, but his daughter.
His house was right over here behind Whittles.
Oh, really?
Old WNOX. And Dad and I went there. Dad and I go to yard sales and auctions all the time. And we went there, and it was nuts.
I bet.
The stuff in that house. It was a big old house, and I bought a box full of antique cameras there.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that place was never open. I don't remember what was it like where Crown and Goose is.
Oh, shit. Well, there were several things.
Because Trio is where Night Owl ended up being for a while, and where Ollie Bay, and then it was another Italian place there for a while that had all the wine bottles in the window. That was really good. That it wasn't Trio, it was something in between, and then it became Ollie Bay. But that's all I remember.
Well, down the street where Crown and Goose is, I remember, but this would have been before we were down there. But there were several things down there in the Planet Earth era. There was, several bar restaurant attempts down there, but I can't remember the names of them.
Which one was Planet Earth? I thought Planet Earth.
Planet Earth is where the old city was.
Oh.
Across the street from JFG.
For some reason, I thought that's where they were in where Urban is now. Okay.
That was Ella Guru's.
Okay. So I remember Ella Guru's, BW3, Spicy's, and now Urban.
Yeah, Ella Guru's was down where Melting Pot is.
Okay.
And then Hughley's Music was where Urban is forever.
Okay, I do remember that.
I don't remember, and I guess maybe that was BW3 was the first thing that came in after that. Maybe, I don't know. But I just remember it as Hughley's when I was...
Well, that's
when I first moved back to town.
Another thing that I was wildly underage to go to is the Underground and the Boiler Room. Mm-hmm. I used to, there was a guy that I knew that was much older than me that was a DJ, but he actually DJ'd with records. And when I was in high school, I would carry his records into the Underground for him whenever he had a DJ set there. So I would be like 14.
Just stick around.
and just hang around and watch all these attractive UT girls go like, I can't talk to her. I'm too goofy and gangly. I can't. I don't know what to say to her with my barely any hair on my upper lip, like fake half mustache.
Those were the days.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the underground and the boiler room were a mess. I remember that. And I don't think I ever went into either one of them of my own volition. It was always, I had to go with him. Because I was like, these places, I don't like these places. They're not good. Yeah, I'm trying to remember back. And it seems like I remember where, well, now it's Awaken, but it was Remedy. In there forever was High Resolutions. Because I remember you used to go in there, and that would have been during your era, because that was like early 2000s. I used to go in there and pick up film when I worked at the print shop.
And then wasn't it Blue Moon Bakery after that?
I think so.
And they had those massive ovens.
I always felt like High Res took up like 3 of those venues. Because I think they had presses in the back at that point. But then when I started going to like Remedy, or now Awaken, but when it was Remedy, I would go in there, I was like, I feel like they put up a wall in here. Like, I don't remember.
It does feel like they divided it. But Planet Earth was the very far right section of that block of buildings. Okay. And he had the main room that we played when we were there, and was completely like, now would be just fire hazard from hell, but you went up this very, very long staircase, and the actual venue was on the second floor. Okay. And when the dancing started, and if it was a big night, it was a very kinetic situation.
That's how the upper floor at Patrick Sullivan's was too. You had to go up those stairs.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. It wasn't that. Up. It wasn't crazy like that. But it was just interesting. But then as he grew, I guess there was the big performance space was on the ground floor. Man. But that was where we would play in our heyday, in the Judy Bass heyday. That was our main performance space.
Because I'm trying to remember when Moose's came along. Moose's would come along in the mid 90s, I think. Moose's Music Hall on the Strip. Oh. But I think it was a big venue. Like they used to have foam parties in there. That I went there once with a buddy of mine, and I stumbled upon a couple having sex on the ground during a foam party. I grabbed him. I was like, "We're leaving, man. I ain't dealing with this shit, man."
I remember that, but I don't think I ever went in there. I don't think we ever played in there.
Well, I know when I was in college, it was mostly heavy metal. Like it was a lot of heavy metal. Like I saw a lot of Fear Factory, System. I saw System of a Down. They were like the number 2 on a 5 bill act. Like, but it was a lot of heavy metal, or that's what everything I went and saw there. And even one of these days, I'm going to do a documentary on Knoxville music, because there's all these little holes, and I'm like, I can't remember when Blue Cats started. I just remember going. Huh. Right. I can't remember what it was before Blue Cats, if it was anything.
Yeah, it was. But I can't remember either. There are people who know, though.
Yeah. I remember when across the street was the Spaghetti Warehouse. Yeah. I do remember that. Right. And it's a shame that Blue Cats building is just sitting there, and has been sitting there for like...
I wonder why.
Well, there is a certain person who owns part of the old city that... No. Oh. You and I may differ on him. I don't mind talking about Carleo. Because there's some of those venues I'm like, he's not making money off these places. There's no way. But Boyd, so I work for Boyd at PetSafe. The Boyd that ran for governor is not the Boyd I worked for. The Boyd I worked for is actually a very good man. Because I was on a committee where we gave away $1 million a year to charity. And it always had to be related to kids' education or pets. Mm-hmm. And he was a very good man, and all this shit with the governor. And I'll tell him I don't care. I'm hoping that with them kind of helping along, maybe it'll kind of wrestle away a little bit from Carleo. I'm hoping. I don't know that actually is going to happen. But like, Old City Wine Bar is really nice. I love that Rebel Kitchen's in there, that it's a ballsy restaurant right in the heart of the Old City. Like, I love that couple. Like, they're amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm curious what he's going to do with Crown and Goose. I think what he's doing with Merchants of Beer is pretty good. Like, they're going to expand it and have a bigger patio. That's where I like to go and smoke cigars. So I wish this was a visual podcast.
We could never date, Jody.
Oh, you would always left swipe on me because you knew I smoked cigars.
If I knew you smoked cigars, that would be that's the deal breaker, man.
So Sean and I've said this to Sean. I've said this to my buddy Jason. I was like, we need to be the non-douchey cigar smokers. And Brooklyn is one that actually was, I don't know, complimentary of us because we just sat there and smoked our cigars. We weren't big and braggadocious. And it's like, for me, it's more of like a stress reliever because I have to stop. Well, hell, you own a business. You would go and stress out and work all these hours. Well, I would do that too, but now I have to stop down. It's a community thing for me. I know.
I mean, I don't understand. I think they smell like somebody's asshole. So I don't understand why anybody wants that in their mouth. It's
some of them are really good.
I am gonna have to take your word on that.
That's okay. Left swipe. I know. Damn it! Now I can't even. Merchants of Beer. What they're doing with that, I think that the fact that they're fixing up Barley's, which is needed to be fixed up for 10 years.
I know. It needed some love.
The men's bathroom about 5 years ago, for a few years, there was only half of a mirror in there, and there hasn't been a mirror in there for like 5 years.
For 5 years.
And like everybody, there's holes in the wall in the men's bathroom, and people just throw their paper towels in the, like, I'm happy. Like, Barley's could be a great bar.
Yeah.
Also, if they'll start cleaning out their beer pipes.
Oh.
I can't drink their beer anymore because it tastes like shit to me because they never clean the pipes.
They never clean their lines.
No. But no, I am a little bit more hopeful for Randy. Like, I love baseball, and I would love to see the Smokies come back to Knoxville.
I wish they'd never left.
I know. So, do you know Jeff Schaffenacher?
Mm-hmm.
Love him. One of the nicest guys in town. He and I sat at his house for like 2 hours mapping out how they should take over where Holston Gases used to be on the other side of the river. And how you could be, like, Chattanooga be on the river, and you could get like SEC tournaments for baseball or softball. You could probably get a lot of concerts. And we started talking through all that, and then we're like, and what can we do to make that happen? And we're like, absolutely nothing, but damn, it's a good idea.
Write a letter. I don't know.
But I think he's going to move it. As long as if he moves it to Old City, as long as two things, he needs parking, which I don't know what he's going to do there. I just hope it doesn't screw some of the development that's actually good. Like the Bird on a Wire studio, and then that building next door that they're working on. And I hear they're working on doing something with Nostalgia, where Nostalgia used to be across the street. I'm hoping they don't screw all that up by building that up and then tearing it down for a baseball. But that's me.
You think that's where the stadium would be?
He bought 5 acres in there. That's why I think, that's it.
That's so close to where it used to be. Why don't they just put it back where the fuck it was?
Seriously. That old stadium, even when it was rickety in the old days, was still one of my favorite places in the world.
Me too. Scott and I actually got in. I asked him to marry me after we went to a baseball game on July 4th.
Awesome.
And we were living downtown at the time, and I remember I was driving a rented truck because some lady had hit my truck, and it was in the shop, and so we were laying in the back of a Ford F-150, and I was like, "When are we going to get married?" And it was after we'd gotten home after the baseball game, and we were laying in the back of the truck watching the fireworks, and they were reflecting off of the glass in the Hilton Hotel. It was we were parked on Church, I guess.
Okay.
Anyway, so I asked him to marry me that night, but then he asked me to marry me later, so he pretends like that didn't happen, but it did.
But you remind him.
Right. And we had, and that night it started at the baseball stadium, and we had a lot of, what kind of beer did you drink at the baseball stadium? It was cheap. Was it Miller?
I think it's Miller.
I think it was Miller.
Yeah.
Miller High Life?
I was, yeah.
I'm almost positive it was High Life.
How did you and Scott meet?
I don't remember.
Really?
I feel like we had so many mutual friends, and and I know we met through music. I mean, he was in the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if you remember that band. And so I think I know we played together as musicians before we dated. We were friends and acquaintances for a long time before we started dating.
Did you play in other bands, kind of pick up after?
Not really. I mean, I would play in his band. He just asked me to play violin on a couple of songs, and I would play with him. But I don't remember playing with anybody else.
Yeah. And you played recently on that Colorama 10-year.
Played with me and Leah play together. Yeah. We play mostly in my kitchen, before and after dinners, here and there. But we love to sing together. So we do every year. We play at the Laurel Theater.
Oh yeah. And
then and so that was a special little bonus gig that we did. But I'd like to play more.
You grew up learning the piano.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start picking up other instruments?
I started taking violin lessons like in the 3rd or 4th grade.
Oh, really?
Grade, I think,
okay.
Yeah.
You couldn't give up on the piano even though you were learning the violin.
No, I had to do both.
That's awesome.
I know. Well, but violin that was in the schools. Like there was orchestra in the schools at that time up through junior high. Our high school didn't have orchestra, so I stopped after that. But I kept my fiddle, and so it was it was just something interesting. I still had a certain amount of skill, not anything too amazing, but it was just fun. I don't know. I guess picked it up again when in the Judy Batson started playing, like just on, I think, what was the song? Is Anything was a song that played it as a different instrument.
Can you play anything else other than can you play guitar? Or?
I can play like 3 chords on the guitar, and I can play an accordion, but just the keyboard side. I can't play the buttons. That's about it.
That's just it. Good Lord. I can play Running with the Devil by Van Halen on the bass. That's about it, because it's boom, 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 boom.
That's awesome. Oh.
Okay. Old City. What made you move to North? Like, was it just a space became available, or you just were outgrowing your location in the Old City?
It was a circuitous route from we really wanted to. Scott and I really wanted to find a place to live above the bakery. That eternal dream that everybody has. They want to, have a little place on Market Square, and you live upstairs and your business is downstairs.
Yeah.
Which is a stupid idea. Nobody should ever do that. You can never leave work. So our solution, we couldn't find, that was during the that really weird time in Market Square where they were trying to decide whether to put it under a dome or, what to do with it. So that was the whole Market Square was in flux, and nobody wanted to do anything with any buildings, So it still wasn't cheap to rent there.
Yeah.
It was cheap compared to what it is now, but it was it wasn't. It was. They were going to tear it up, and that was kind of a questionable thing. But nobody wanted to sell anything, and so we started looking outside of the immediate downtown, and got our eyes on the Southeastern Glass Building.
Oh man!
And started looking around that, finding out who owned that, and did some research on that. And Scott approached the people who owned that, and we started a relationship with them. Started talking to them about that, and we ended up making an offer on that building and purchasing it.
Oh, really?
Really having no idea what we were doing. It was a wonderful experience. So crazy. But we ended up doing a bunch of demo ourselves. It was full of glass. That is a 5-story building. I don't know if you know, but it's like 2 subfloors, and then
really?
the ground floor, and then 2 floors above that. And now they've added another floor to it. But when we got it, we just decided we would concentrate on restoring the facade, and then we would figure out how to get the bakery in our house in there.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's 25,000 square feet.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So we ended up doing a bunch of work on the facade, redoing all the windows, restoring there was a beautiful arch in the porte cochere, which is no longer there. So that we put the arch back in, and then do you remember that building before? It was like, it was like a gas station when it was originally. And so we just always imagined that being a patio, outdoor seating, string lights, just beautiful. But
because wasn't it kind of covered? Wasn't there a column up on the front corner?
Yeah, there was a little arch in the front.
Yeah.
There, and then
like
arch
a pass through.
Here.
Almost.
Yeah. It was so pretty.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. So but when we bought it, they had squared that off and filled in that arch. And so when we started demoing and realized that there's a piece of steel, the arches were just, these steel arches were still intact.
Oh wow!
So we restored the whole thing and got it back to basically what it looked like when it was built. And about the time we were almost finished, we got notification from TDOT that they wanted to tear it down so that they could straighten out that little hitch in the road.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And so Scott worked really hard to put it on the National Register of Historic Places, and we got so it was the exterior was restored to those guidelines.
Yeah.
And there would have been tax credits involved had we completed the whole project, but it was just a way for them not to tear it down, which would have been crazy.
Yeah.
It was but we got to that point and realized there was no way we could afford to do to make it work for us.
Yeah.
So we ended up selling it, and then Scott started looking, and we started looking further, it's like, okay, just find something else. And he came across that building, and it was not a building that was for sale. He just looked at it and thought this might work, and found the owners and started talking to them. And
what was in there before you all?
It was Colorama aluminum manufacturing.
Okay.
So in the front were the offices, and then in the back side was warehouses where the glowing body is.
Yeah.
So that was just one great big open room. It's got those 3 skylights in it. Have you taken classes over there? Have you ever been in the
No,
other
but
studios?
I went in there to talk to Kim.
Okay.
And went upstairs. I did not realize how big that building is. Like, it's so big.
It is. It's lovely. But the original plan was, and the upstairs was a Christian radio station.
Oh.
But
okay.
it had been unused for, I think Colorama was still a going concern in the back of the building.
Uh-huh.
But the front and the upstairs were not used for years and years and years.
Okay.
Prior to us purchasing it. So
But the corner lounge was still kicking.
Corner lounge was turquoise blue and yeah.
Dingy as all hell inside. I loved it.
I
Yeah.
know. It was great.
But that building is a gorgeous building. That brick and everything, it just stands out. The Colorama building. Like, it just stands out so much. Like, it's wild because, so Dale and Sean did a good sport night with Jack Neely where he did a historic walking tour on Father's Day. And I kind of knew what it was going to be. Like, I kind of guessed. And I was like, I told Dale and Sean, I was like, I think this is going to be a walking tour. If it is, I'd like to bring my dad. I know you won't tell me. But should I buy 2 tickets? And I think Dale was like, I think that'd be a good idea. And I was like, okay, that's all I need. Don't tell me. And we went, and Dad had more history than Jack did. He was like, oh, this building right here, this is awesome. When this and this and this.
That's his stomping grounds.
Yeah, him, and of course, you know my uncle, Tom. The mailman. Yeah.
I'd forgotten that connection. Yes, of course.
Although... it's a little, yeah. But yeah, although back then, like up the road at Happy Holler, like Granny did not want them going. It was so rough back in the day. And, but yeah, they would always, shoot. That weird building on the corner next to Stripe Light. It was, I think, service awning. Place, but then sat there empty forever. Yeah. When the creamery burned down out in Fountain City, I've said for years, I was like, I wish the creamery had reopened in that building because that's what it looks like, the creamery.
Right.
Like,
that
it would be
cool.
Perfect. We also need more restaurants up and down through there, but that's just me.
Right.
Kim and I spent a long time talking about that.
Right.
So y'all looked to move out there, and back then, I'm trying to think what was around there because Whole Dobbs had been closed for long time.
Yeah, that was long, empty.
But it was, at that point, it was the Rail Salvage second location.
Yeah, I think it was mostly just storage for them, but they would let.
The toilet and the bathroom came from that building.
Nice.
That's where my uncle was like, oh, you need one? We're not going to Lowe's. And he took me in there, and we bought that there. I remember that because it was painted white. I think I remember.
There was metal covering all the windows. Metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just a big giant warehouse inside. Yep. And I think I told you Dad bought his first car in your parking lot, which I still find hilarious.
Yeah, that's cute.
And nothing like Brown Appliance.
Brown Appliance is a going concern until just recently, and they're a busy business. There are people in and out of there all the time. We got a lot of new customers off of Brown Appliance. People looking across the street going, what's over there? Yeah. And then Knox 10 Rental was a going concern when we moved in, and they were great neighbors. Yeah. And we were really sad to see them go. Nothing was in, that's where the Hive is now. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then nothing was in Stripe Light. High Resolutions, were they there yet? I think they were not.
I think they moved there in like late early 2000s, maybe 2010. Okay. I think somewhere around there. Because I think they've been over there for a while, but maybe just shy. I don't think they've been there 15 years.
Right. And then service awning was actually still a going concern. I remember my mom getting some canvas shades made for the house in probably 80. It was right when Kyle got married. So that would have been 83 or 84. So.
And the office supply place that burned down.
Oh, right.
It was not, I can't remember if it was open.
It was still open.
It was still open.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. And I'm trying to remember which one. My uncle told me it was either that building or Hops and Hollers, that they were working on the building and the entire front of the building fell out into Central. Ooh. One day. And I can't remember which one of but yeah, even going up the road, like the city had taken over the old Sears building. Mm-hmm. There was the Marita Bakery across from, I think where Three Rivers is now.
Right.
That was I think it was Merida. Yeah, it was Merida.
Yeah, but now it's Ministries.
No. Where Three Rivers actually is now.
It was like it was like the day old bread store.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're
we
right.
used to go in there and I could get those whole mini loaves that I would tear through with chili or peanut butter or whatever. Because the eye doctor, that little tiny building,
Right.
that's where I always went as a kid to get glasses, Dr.
Right.
Condry. But there wasn't much up and down through. I think there on the corner next to it was an antique place there for a long time. It was just a big building. There wasn't much, like it was very random. It felt like back then Central was very random. Because also I grew up going to Broadway Baptist when it was still, before they sold half of it. And I think everything across the street, even growing up, there was nothing there.
Yeah.
There used to be a Chinese restaurant in where Super Mario's is. It was disgusting.
Right. I remember going down there with my mom to get her mixer fixed at one of those, at some little shop.
Yeah.
In Happy Holler proper.
Yeah.
And then I remember going to Sears for winter coat, but there was not much else, not much other reason to go down Central.
That big giant building across from Sears is the old Social Security building, because that's where Dad, when he went off to join the Army, that's where he was shipped out of.
Okay.
And he still sells about how Granny pulled up and he got out of the car and she was like, I'll see you.
See you later.
Just slapped him there. And he was like, what the hell, man? I'm going off to war, damn it. Like, what the hell? But it sat there. God knows how long that sat there empty. I always thought that would make a good space, like what they're wanting to do with Merida across the bridge in South Knoxville. To do like a mixed use space or something.
For sure. It's got one of the greatest, that little crest where the old Sears building, and that building has such a great view of the city.
Yeah.
It really does need to be.
We would sit up on
used.
the deck at Central Collective and watch Boomsday every year, just because it was like you can see everything from up there. And when they were building Schultzbrow, we laughed because it was just like we saw them build it brick by brick. Those spires. We've been talking a lot lately about how there's going to be 8 breweries within a mile and a quarter. And it's so weird. That's a big thing that got us talking about food. It's like, because every time they announce a new one, Sean goes, I need another damn restaurant, man.
Yeah.
I was like, I need another option other than Flats and Taps. Hell, we've started going to XYZ for food because it's just bar food, but it's like you can get it late.
Have you had any of the food at the corner yet?
No, but I've seen the
It's
pictures.
good.
It looks good.
It's really good.
Because I think when he first started, he didn't have the full menu made.
Yeah, it was a slow burn, but he's using Paisan for their breads, and it's
Awesome.
It's good stuff. And they're steaming their sandwiches. It's super
Well, one of the most slept on places in town is Pizzeria Nora.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That dude, he just kind of flies by his own seat of his pants.
Yeah.
You know, I love North Core Sandwich Shop, and Steamboat is great. I'm hoping that once that side of Central gets developed out more, that Steamboat will stay open for dinner.
Yeah.
I hope.
That would be great.
But so you moved over there, and it's just like, what have you thought about all of this development around? Like, there's been so much.
Yeah.
It's weird. People who've moved here like 10 years ago, they're like, there's so much. I was like, you have no idea.
I know. I don't know. It feels, I mean, it's great. Obviously, it's really never, I never wanted a storefront. I really just wanted to be a wholesale bakery. That was my whole thing. I didn't want a retail. And you can tell from our tiny retail space that it's a struggle. That was not ever part of my business plan, So, and our original plan for the building, I think we were talking about that we would be in the back part where the going body is, and then our friend Hollis, who was the first person I shared a kitchen with at Bafford Place, was going to open she was going to have a raw food restaurant in the front where I am now.
Okay.
And that fell through, and our plan to renovate was just kind of stopped because we couldn't just do that part. We had to have that component, that other person. And so and then she decided she wanted to do a yoga studio, and we were trying to figure out how to make that work, and it didn't make any sense where the raw food restaurant was going to be in the front spot. There poles and all this stuff, and the warehouse space made a lot more sense. So we flipped spaces, and she developed the yoga studio in that space, and we converted my wholesale bakery into this smaller space, which
one thing we
really
didn't
weird.
touch on is you went from burritos to baked goods.
Mm-hmm.
And the baked goods, it was just based on necessity from what Tomato Head needed.
I guess it was just, I've always liked to bake, but I think I just, more than anything, I just like to make things.
Okay.
And I guess that the thing about baking is a pretty immediate gratification situation.
Okay.
You can start with these raw ingredients and then an hour later have something amazing. And it's really gratifying to start the day with a bunch of bowls of flour and sugar and eggs, and at the end of the day have 50 beautiful cherry pies. It's just that's the kind of thing that makes me happy, just making things and seeing things happen. But I guess I'm impatient too, and so they have to happen really fast.
Because you kind of came on cupcakes were a trend.
We didn't do cupcakes for a long time.
Yeah.
I fought tooth and nail not to have cupcakes. I didn't want them. We did. I gave in one year and decided I would offer red velvet cupcakes at Christmas, and that was it. Red velvet was it. That was all I was going to do. And then I hired this gal, Brenna Byler, and she was a cupcake freak. She loved the whole idea of cupcakes, and she wanted to do them. And I was like, fine, you do it. And so she started doing these crazy flavors and all this. And that was when we were in the old city, and she's the one who started with the cupcake thing, and then there was no going back after that caught on.
I'm thankful for her.
But we were late on the cupcake train.
Yeah.
And I'm really kind of amazed that it's been we've been doing cupcakes for 15 years.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, donuts are going to be the thing. And I'm like,
I think donuts have already peaked and are back down.
Although I hate donuts. I'm not a fried dough person at all. There's nothing.
Yeah.
I'll eat a Krispy Kreme like once or twice a year and thoroughly enjoy it. And I really do like status dough donuts, and I've had a few of those. But it's just something about fried dough. It's not my thing. So there was no way I was ever going to do that.
Their apple fritters are amazing.
The status dough?
Hell yeah.
Are they?
But man, yeah. Now I'm wondering, is are bagels going to be the next thing? Because of between Paisan and what K-Brew's doing, it's like, good Lord, I don't like bagels.
You don't? I do like bagels.
They're not my thing. I think it's the crunchiness of them. I just don't.
Now, I don't want a bagel sandwich. That's ridiculous.
Okay.
But I love a bagel and cream cheese.
It's just
cream cheese?
Never been my thing.
Huh. What's K-Brew doing with bagels?
They're making bagels.
But where are they making?
I don't know. Okay. I thought the original article was saying somewhere in the old city, but apparently that's wrong.
Okay.
They announced it like 2 months after Paisan had been around. It was like, they're like, no, we've been planning this for years, and we started with bagel. I was like, okay. It's like, you have VGs. Why would you do bagels when you have VGs? Like, God love them. It's cupcakes. Good God. I don't know if I ever told you this. I went in there and bought gluten-free for a buddy of mine that if he even had a dollop of gluten, he would have to be taken to the hospital. Like, he actually has celiac. Yeah. And I gave him those. And it was the 6-pack, the minis. He ate 3 of them as he's standing there. And as he finished the third one, he was like, I both hate you and love you at the same time. And I was like, good thing I bought you 2 6-packs. He's like, I didn't need to know about the other 6-pack. He was so pissed at me.
Oh. And he didn't die.
No.
Good.
He loved him. And he's a very fit and trim dude, gay man. And he was very mad at me for buying. I was like, you know what? Damn it, dude. They're amazing. And you need to eat them. He's like, you suck. Just sitting there eating them, giving me eyes. And then recently you decided to sell. Were you just done or wanted to try new things or?
Well, obviously I don't want to try new things because I'm still doing that thing. No, I think my realization when the deal finally went through is just talking to old employees. Is I've really been trying to shed the bakery for forever. I've offered it to almost every person who's ever walked through the door. I think that I just was ready to not be in charge of something. I really my realization from working in the bakery since January as an employee is that I love working there.
Yeah.
I just want to work there.
Yeah.
I love to teach people. I love the art of baking. I think it's magical. I love production. I love getting up in the morning and getting shit done, but I don't like the stress of all of the all that it takes to run a business, mostly keeping employees period, keeping employees happy, dealing with all of the marketing and the management and the strategies and the social media and all that shit. It's just too much, and I just was never I think that that just wasn't my strong suit. I should never have had a business. I just want to work. I just want to work there. I just made a place where I wanted to work.
God.
And it took me way too long to figure that out.
Oh my God.
But I do that being said, I don't want to work there forever. I just want to I'm happy to be there now. I'm happy to just enjoy being in production and helping Elizabeth establish herself as a business owner. She's much wiser and much more patient and smarter than I ever was as far as running a business. But I still know how to make shit a lot faster and better. But it's gonna be, she's been working there since she was 16.
Yeah.
So she knows a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
But she, I think it'll take her a couple of years to really feel confident in the whole thing, and hopefully some other people will come along who want to play a bigger role in the production side, and then I can ease out and get in my wheelchair and roll off into the sunset.
Oh, good Lord, Peggy. Oh, God. Oh, man. No, that's the pleasure now. You never stop working. Good Lord.
Yeah. No. I mean, my father never stopped working.
Yeah.
He tuned a piano 2 days before he died. Wow. So.
Yeah. Do you have anything? Is there something you've always wished you had more time to do that you're looking forward to tackling? Or are you not even wanting to think about it until you can get to that point?
I think I'm in such a habit of working that it's really hard for me to imagine that. I think, if I didn't work at all, I would still be okay because we have a very modest life. But I love to work. Yeah. And I've occupied myself with it for so long. it's really I know that I want to make some art, but I think it's going to be, I think I need a concentrated time of not doing anything else to really explore that. And maybe I'm scared to do that, and maybe that's why I'm still working as much as I am. I don't know. But I think I will get to that point, or I hope I will get to that point eventually.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.